We thought this was going to be a simple family hike, just something to get outside, have a family bonding time, do a little rock scrambling, and then head back. I mean, we had 2 kids under 10 with us, so in my head, I'm thinking this has to be pretty manageable. Nothing too intense. We really underestimated it. This right here is a 3D map of everything we covered, from the visitor center where we parked, all the way to climbing up to the skytop tower. We ended up hiking and rock scrambling almost 11 miles, over 26,000 steps, and somehow found ourselves squeezing through narrow rock crevices and climbing ladders, without even realizing we had walked straight into one of the more challenging trails here. And the worst part? At one point, we didn't even know where we were going. And this is us in the beginning. Excited, starting out strong, completely unaware of what the day had in store for us. This was our first hike of the season. After a long winter, we were ready to get back into it, and the weather couldn't have been better. Cool, a little crisp, not crowded at all. It felt like we had the whole place to ourselves. And hiking isn't new for us. We've always loved it, even before kids. This is from when we hiked Seoraksan National Park, and when the kids came along, we just brought them with us, carrying them at first and not really thinking much of it at that time. But looking back now, those were the moments that led us here. And slowly, over time, those short walks turned into longer hikes, step by step, just building up to where we are now. So when my husband said, "I think they're finally ready for lemon squeeze," I should have known. We were getting ourselves into something more than just a simple walk. This hike was kind of a last-minute decision. We didn't really plan much going into it. After seeing how much they enjoyed the Millbrook Ridge Trail last fall, which is a shorter, more kid-friendly hike with a similar vibe, we figured we'd give Lemon Squeeze another try. The last time we were here, we actually planned to do it, but with daylight savings, we were losing light pretty quickly, and were told we wouldn't have enough time to finish. So instead, we were guided to Millbrook Ridge, and it ended up being a great alternative. But this time, we came back hoping to finally give Lemon Squeeze a real try. The plan was simple. If it got too hard, we just turned back. That was the plan. What we didn't realize was how far everything actually was. One of the staff at the visitor center mentioned that when her kids were around the same age as ours, they would just do Giant's Path and call it a day. Similar kind of experience, but shorter and less intense. So we thought, perfect, let's ease into it. We can always come back and try Lemon Squeeze another time. Take it slow, start with something moderate, and work our way up as we get more familiar with the area. It was about 3/4 of a mile just from the parking lot to Undercliff Road, which is about another 2-mile path that leads us to Giant's Path. And at this point, we were all still feeling good, laughing, joking around. The kids were climbing everything in sight. At that time, it really felt like we made the right call. This was going to be a nice, easy hike, nothing too crazy. Or at least that's what we thought, because looking back, we were definitely going to need that kind of energy for the day. And this right here, this is the spot we should have made a mental note of, because later on, we ended up passing it without realizing, and added about 40 extra minutes trying to find our way back. Yeah, kids weren't too happy about that. At this point, we're on Undercliff Road heading toward Giant's Path, and without really realizing it, we had already covered over 2.5 miles. And once we came across this stream, that's when we knew we had reached the Rhododendron Bridge. This is where the trail splits, and we decided earlier that we would give Giant's Path a try first, so we made a left. We'd eventually come back this way later, just not in the way we expected. So we continued on, taking Laurel Ledge Road, and started passing by all these rock formations along the way. And at this point, everything still felt easy, just walking, talking, taking in the view. The kids still had energy. Nobody was tired yet. And I remember thinking, we definitely made the right choice starting here first. I had no idea what was coming. We kept going along Laurel Ledge Road until we finally came across the sign for Giant's Path and decided to give rock scrambling a try. From here, we were just following the markings, those red blazes on the trees and rocks, trusting that they'd lead us the right way. It was really nice to see the kids helping each other out, figuring things out, deciding where to step next, just working their way from one point to another. And as for this mama, let's just say they were more than ready for this, and I was just trying to keep up with them. Moments like this are a good reminder for me to stay active too, so I can keep doing things like this with them. And as you can see, this wasn't exactly an easy path. The kids loved it though, weaving through tight spaces, pulling themselves up, climbing and jumping from rock to rock, like it was their own real-life trampoline park. You really have to squeeze through.
Look at that.
During this time, the rocks in the shade were still pretty cool, so our hands were definitely feeling it. A good reminder to bring climbing gloves next time, and maybe smaller backpacks too. We actually had to take them off and squeeze them through first, just so we could easily fit through some of those tighter areas.
Oh wow. No, just hang on. I think you should go that way.
But then, not even 10 minutes in, we hit a point where the trail just stopped. Maybe we missed something, or the markings weren't clear. Either way, there was no clear path forward. And with the younger kids, it just didn't feel safe to keep going. So we decided to turn back. And at that point, we had a choice. Head back to the car or try a different route. And since we had already come this far, we kept going.
Put your foot there and see your
Yeah.
So instead of going to the left, we decided to go to the right. And from there, this is what we saw before. So we made our way back to the split, and this time went the other direction, taking Old Minnewaska Road toward the trail that leads to the beautiful Mohonk Lake. And going to the Old Minnewaska Road. That meant another 1.5 miles of hiking, just to get back on track. And this is us making our way up that hill. It definitely felt steeper than it looks. We took a little break, had some snacks, took a few pictures, just trying to recharge a bit before continuing on. By this point, it had already been about 2 hours and 15 minutes since we started our hike. And from where we were standing, we could actually see the Skytop Tower in the distance. It looked close, but it still felt pretty far off. And we hadn't really gotten to do much rock scrambling yet, so we decided to keep going. We made our way toward Mohonk Lake. And seeing the tower again from there, I remember thinking, how are we actually going to get all the way up there? After about another 1.5 miles, we finally reached the lake. Just look at this view. The flowers weren't even blooming yet, and it was already this beautiful. I can only imagine how it looks when everything's in full bloom. Or even in the fall when all the colors change. And this part was nice. Just sitting for a bit, enjoying the nice view of the Mohonk Mountain House, feeling the breeze, listening to the water hitting the rocks. It was calm, and we needed that.
Because I'm next to the water.
We're pretty high up right now.
Then we came across a sign for something called the Spring Path, and we thought, maybe this is where we can do a little bit of rock scrambling, just for fun, then head back. What we didn't realize was that we had just walked straight into the labyrinth, one of the most challenging trails here. And by the time we figured that out, it was already too late. At first, it felt manageable. The kids were excited, climbing, squeezing through rocks, helping each other figure out where to step next. And I was still just trying to keep up. But then, the trail started to change. The spaces got tighter, the climbs got steeper, and we started seeing ladders. At one point, we actually thought about turning back. But looking behind us, it didn't even feel like an option. The way the rocks were set up, it was easier to keep going than to try and go back. way, guys. By this point, we had already been hiking for quite a while, and we still didn't know how much farther we had to go. The ladders just kept coming. Narrow spaces, deep cracks between the rocks, and somehow, we just kept going. Step by step, helping each other through it.
I mean, we are going up.
I think we're going to go down to these on top. This part right here was one of the toughest. We were so close to the end, and even for adults, it was hard pulling ourselves up through those tight spaces. I can't even imagine how much harder it was for our younger two. I was using whatever strength I had to lift them up to my hubs, and he'd pull them up from the top. And after what felt like hours, we finally made it to the top. Or at least what we thought was the top. Just when it felt like we were done, there was a little more to climb. I was excited to take some family pictures up here. But reality hit. The wind picked up, we were sweaty from the climb, and we started getting cold fast. So, like usual, getting a nice family picture didn't really happen. We quickly made our way toward the tower instead. This is where those extra steps came in. The final push to make it to the top. Just a few more flights of stairs, and ta-da! We finally made it. And there it is, the Sky Top Tower. And this right here, it looks like a pond, but it's actually a man-made reservoir that was used to store water up here. And even now, you'll still see it filled with water. And this tower has been here for over 100 years. It was originally used as a lookout. And once you're up there, you can see why. The boys still had the energy to go all the way up the tower. I didn't. It's been 3 hours and 45 minutes since we started. I knew we still had a long way to go, so I stayed back and saved whatever I had left for the hike back down. So instead, I just took it all in. The views just open up in every direction. Out over the Hudson Valley, the Shawgunk Ridge, locals call it the Gunks, and layers of mountains stretching out in the distance. Now off we go, making our way back down the skytop path to head back to the car. And it was on the way back down that we finally saw the sign. And the crazy part is, if we had just walked about 300 feet to the left, we would have known exactly where we were going. We actually came from the other side over there, which means we completely missed the first sign, and the second one. And this is us stopping to take a closer look, because this is when it finally clicked. We had taken the more difficult route up to the tower, through the labyrinth and rock crevice, which explains why everything started to feel more intense toward the end. And that right there, that's where it all started, the spring path, the one that led us straight into the rock scrambling. By this point, we were a little over 4.5 hours in, and still had about another hour and a half just to get back to the car. So we made the best of it, just talking, joking around, spending that time together.
Wow, all of you guys?
We get these sudden bursts of energy. Then it would catch up to us right after. We passed a biker or two, and quite a few rock climbers along the way, but it didn't really make the exhaustion any easier. We missed the spot we were supposed to head down, and ended up adding another 40 minutes. Nobody was happy about that. But even with all of that, this is exactly the kind of day we'll remember. Not because it was perfect, but because we pushed through the hard parts and figured it out together. And for me, it was one of those days that gives you time, away from everything else, to just be together without all the distractions and to really appreciate the stage we're in. If you're thinking about doing this with your younger kids, definitely bring plenty of water and snacks. Gloves can really help, especially in early spring or late fall. And keep everything as compact as you can, because those tight spaces are no joke. And one thing I would definitely do differently, I wouldn't start from the visitor center parking like we did. There are closer trailheads, and it would have saved us a lot of extra walking. And to end the day, we treated ourselves to a well-deserved meal. Pho and lemongrass chicken, and of course, mochi ice cream. After a day like that, it just hits different. One adventure at a time.